Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. This week, we're going to be talking to Dario from Concrete Countertop Solutions. They have kits for creating your own concrete countertops. And we'd like to thank William Crystal for liking and sharing our podcast. Dario, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. JC, how are you?
Real good, thank you. Cindy and I were hoping we could get some information on your company and maybe your background.
Sure. So Concrete Countertop Solutions, we were founded in 2009, kind of from the idea that there has to be an easier way to build concrete countertops. Our founder and owner, Ed Baldoni, he was a residential home builder for a long time and kind of saw this growing trend of concrete countertops, saw it at a lot of the trade shows. So he went to do a couple, but he kind of got stuck, trying to figure out, should he precast, should he cast in place? If you're casting in place, the only way to really do it is, build your own forms out of wood. And that's when he came up with this idea for the Z counterform edge forms. And those are our snap away molds. And that's kind of the bread and butter of our whole product line. That's where we started, and then from there, we just kept adding products and listening to our customers, and they had interest in mix design and sealers. So we made a couple strategic partnerships with toll blenders and manufacturers and started creating mix designs and sealers to kind of just build a one-stop shop around concrete countertops. And now today we have over 700 SKUs kind of across the entire decorative concrete industry.
So your forms are interesting because not only does it hold the concrete in place, but you're creating a decorative edge?
That's correct. Yes. So the forms, you can actually, what you would do is you'd put half-inch backer board down on top of your cabinets or whatever your base is. A lot of people use these for outdoor kitchens, so they have block or steel stud bases. But your forms just screw down right into that backer board, and then you pour the concrete in there. Those act as your mold. There's 10 different decorative edges now, I think we have, including form liners, which are, rubber liners which you can add in there to create things like that live rock edge, the chiseled stone look. Once the concrete is cured for about 24 to 48 hours, you just pull down and snap away the form.
And what is the difference between, if someone's thinking about a concrete countertop, you've got cast in place and precast?
Yeah, so those are the two primary methods. Cast in place is like it sounds. You're actually pouring the concrete tops on top of your cabinet. The benefits here are typically that you can pour large monolithic pieces without any seams. You don't have to worry about transporting them without causing damage to the top or your home. And you don't have to worry about if they're going to fit once you actually get them in place, because everything is just done right there. So there's no templating or anything like that. With precast, you would be creating a template of your cabinet just like you would for any other stone countertop installation, but then you actually build molds off-site based on those templates. The benefits to precast is that you are casting them upside down, so there's really no troweling work required, because once you flip that mold over, now your base that was cast typically against like smooth melamine is going to be pretty nice. The downside is you are limited in size, really by what you can carry and transport. So oftentimes you'll have to do smaller sections and seam them together. It's important to understand the pros and cons of each. Size is usually the biggest factor. Like I said, for example, a vanity top that's 2x3 can easily be precast, and then you can just set that right in place on top of your vanity. However, if you're trying to do a 10x10L or say a big 4x10 island, that's going to be so difficult to precast and then try and move all in one piece. So cast in place becomes typically the better option there.
And with your forms, this is something that you can use for a kitchen, a bathroom, for outdoor counters?
Absolutely. Yeah. It seems like every day people find new uses for them. But the big ones are kitchen remodels or even new kitchens, bathrooms, vanity tops, Outdoor kitchens are really popular right now, especially with the pandemic and people really investing in their own backyard space. So we've seen a huge growth there as well. But I mean, people use them to make furniture. They make concrete dining room tables or coffee tables. I've seen them used for wall caps, steps, stair treads. So really a lot of different uses.
So other than countertops, you have forms for other projects?
We do, yeah. So in 2014, we actually launched what we call the Z Pool Form system, based off a similar idea as the Z Counter forms. But really what wound up happening was a lot of our customers were saying, well, can I use these for pool coping? And, we went to the drawing board and said, why don't we make a form specifically for pool coping? And that's what we did. So the existing product out there that everybody's using to pour cantilever concrete coping is made out of styrofoam. It's disposable. A lot of downfalls with that, as you can imagine. So we try to address all of that by making a rigid PVC form that's reusable. It uses that same form liner insert, so you can create a number of different decorative edges. And yeah, that's certainly growing in popularity right now.
Interesting. And for outside, how would you be sealing the concrete?
So you should seal the concrete regardless of indoors, outdoors, kitchen, vanity, whatever it is. Anytime you're doing a decorative concrete project, you want to make sure you're using a sealer. And really, the reason is because concrete it's porous, just like other stones as well. So it is susceptible to staining and a lot of wear and patina, which some people like, but you want to protect it. I mean, if you're going to go through the work and investment of doing a concrete top, in my opinion, the sealer is one of the most important parts. So there's a lot of different sealers on the market. We sell several different polyurethanes, epoxies. It's definitely important to do your research because there's not one ultimate end-all be-all sealer that you can use on any project. There really isn't. I wish it was that simple, but if you're doing something outdoors, you want to make sure you're using something that's UV safe, like an epoxy is not, it'll yellow. So polyurethanes or acrylics are popular. If you're doing a kitchen, you obviously want a lot of stain protection. So typically we'd steer people towards coatings rather than like penetrating sealers because those high performance coatings create a shield, basically a layer over the concrete, a resin layer to block out staining. So yeah, there's a lot of different products out there. You definitely want to understand the difference and do your research. And that's kind of what we're here for as well. And our customer support team is happy to help people understand the differences and make the right decision based on their project.
With your sealers, how often, let's say it's a kitchen countertop, how often would you be resealing it?
That really does depend on the sealer. For example, we have a penetrating sealer. We call it Cyacryl 14. Really good product because it's super easy to apply. You essentially just rub it into the concrete. But the reason people like that sealer so much is because it's really natural looking and feeling. Almost looks and feels like there's nothing on the concrete. So you get that organic warmth, texture of the concrete. However, something like that's going to wear a lot easier because it's such a thin coating, and you would probably be reapplying it every 2 or 3 years. And it's not, the reapplication process isn't difficult. You don't have to sand or strip or do any, nothing labor intensive. You're essentially just rolling or rubbing on a new coat. But you want to stay ahead of that maintenance so that you don't run into issues down the road. However, something like an epoxy, that could last 10 years. It could last the lifetime of the countertop because it's such a thick coating. So it will depend, but we do try and give good guidance on all of that. Anybody who's doing a project like this, always make sure they're reading the data sheets of the sealers they're using. That's going to tell them what it's best used for, how it works, what the maintenance is, the reapplication process. All of that information is important to understand.
So what are some of the benefits of having a concrete countertop?
Really good question. I do get asked this one a lot. I would say for starters, it's hard to ignore the cost difference, especially if you're DIYing concrete countertops. Typically materials from us cost around $20 a square foot. And when you compare that to other solid surfaces like granite or marble or quartz, it is a pretty big difference. Well, you can get some inexpensive granites for maybe around $50 or $60 a square foot installed. Those costs can easily get well over $100, $150, $200 for certain marble, soapstones, quartz. So the cost savings is probably the biggest factor we see. The other benefit of concrete is the level of customization. You really can make it look like anything. I would say one of the most popular looks right now is white concrete, but you're not limited to white or gray. You can stain it, color it integrally, you can texture the top, you can make the edges look like natural stone, which we touched on before. So really anything you can imagine is possible. You know, a lot of the allure of concrete is that it's not granite or marble, but it's something that's unique. It has its own unique look and feel and characteristics. And, you know, the fact that it's different is kind of one of the things that makes it cool.
Sure. And with some of that texturing and colors, that's something that your company would have?
Certainly. Yeah, we sell stamps or texture skins so you can texture the surface of the concrete. We sell those form liners. You can actually slip inside the forms to texture the edges. We sell the stains, integral pigments, sealers, the whole 9 yards.
So would this be a project for the average homeowner?
It definitely depends on how handy of a person you consider yourself. I would say on the scale of DIY projects, it's on the more involved side. It can get a bit messy. But with that said, it's certainly a DIY project. I can say that because the largest part of the market that we sell to is those passionate DIYers. It's really awesome to see the level of work, you know, how high quality of projects they're doing with our products. It's kind of inspiring. I mean, we see photos on Instagram and Facebook, and they email us in photos, and it's mind-blowing every day to see the work that the average DIYer is doing. You know, with that said, there's certainly the professional route as well. If it's something you don't think you can handle or you don't want to take on your own, there are professionals out there who will happily install concrete countertops for you.
And would the most difficult part be just the troweling of the surface?
That's probably the part that gets messed up the most often, you know. So when we have customers come to us with, oh, I have this issue or that issue, that's usually where they start from. Either they troweled too soon or they just didn't do a good job at it. The nice thing about it is with concrete, almost, I shouldn't say everything, but almost everything is repairable. You know, you can always grind or polish the surface. You can always use a skim coat like a micro topping. So there's a lot of different ways to handle any issues that you may run into. If we wanted to learn more, where would we go? So I would start by visiting our website, and that's concretecountertopsolutions.com. All of our products are available online, but we also offer top-notch customer support. You can watch any of our instructional videos, browse our galleries for inspiration, and of course, reach out to us directly to help you figure out exactly what you might need for your project.
All right. Well, very good. Well, I appreciate your time, Dario.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
That was a great interview. Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our ebooks, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, books 1 through 16 on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Cindy on Twitter @FixItCohost, and you can follow us on Instagram, Fixit Home Improvement.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.